First, I want to give you proper introduction. So, everyone, Isaac is the owner of Lotus Kendamas and Kendamanomics and has been a very dedicated Kendama player for 9 years now. Started playing in 2015. And I've personally known of him since he started making TikToks back in 2019. I think he started making them.
Yeah.
But I didn't really start to get to know him better until the beginning of 2023 when we were able to hang out and do an in-person interview. And as the months went on from there, I quickly came to realize that Isaac loves playing Kendama more than 99% of players that I've ever met, which says a ton because I've been traveling all over the world for Kendama for the past 12 years and I've met thousands of players. And in these past years, I've seen him progress particularly rapidly. And in these years, Isaac has entered his 30s, become a husband, father, and also moved to Copenhagen from Ohio, where he now lives with his beautiful family. And after all of
Cool.
that, he's still progressing and lacing taps and ken flips like he's a 16-year-old kid playing 6 hours a day after school. So I'm really excited for this presentation and to learn along with you guys. Isaac, all you, dude.
All right, let's go. Okay, let me just get this Zoom thing going. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
You can. Can you see the presentation here?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Ryoga, how to get better at kendama.
Yep.
All right, awesome. And you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, guys, thanks for the intro, Zach. I really appreciate that. And today I'm going to be talking about how to get better at kendama, which is kind of funny because maybe it's a little bit obvious, but I think it's important to put this out there. The best way to get better, in my opinion, is grounded in kind of what Zach said. I've been playing for 8, 9 years. I've gotten better at kendama myself. I went from starting kendama brand new, big cup at 21 years old to just 3 months ago qualifying for KWC at 30 years old. Um, and I've analyzed and talked to the top players. I've been really interested in all top performing sports athletes. I think all of that kind of shapes my perspective to the ideas of progressing and getting better at kendama. So let's first go through why get better at kendama, like the Gallaghers. I like to establish the why before we get into the how. Um, so I think we should start with why get better, and then we can move to why get better at kendama. So we're shortening the sentence a little bit. But I believe getting better is intrinsic to being human. I have a 7 month old right now who is literally just grinding, crawling every day. Like she wakes up, I put her down, and she is just trying to crawl, which soon will become walking and then talking and then, tying her shoes and running and climbing. And she's not really fully conscious right now, she's just is doing it because it feels good and it's what she's supposed to do, I guess. But as we become, as humans, as we get older and mature, I think all of us, whether we know it or not, are trying to improve everything that we do. It is a very human sense. I think the one argument against this is maybe monks who just go in seclusion, but I think there could be an argument that even they are trying to get better at understanding their own mind. But like literally everybody, whether it's a mom who is trying to, learn from her mistakes from her first kid, maybe feeding, him too much sugar or not going carnivore, and now with the second kid going carnivore. No, just joking. Or if it's the 60-year-old professor who has been studying their ancient history topic and trying to get better at it, right? So improving again, very intrinsic to being human. Um, and let's throw Kendama into this. Yeah, so kind of what I'm saying, improving being intrinsic, it gives us meaning and significance. I think when we get good at something and we're better than our peers, not necessarily in a bragging way, but we've just shown improvement and your peers are happy for you. It gives you a lot of confidence and meaning. Um, and I think talking more about this, where was I going? No, yeah, we'll go to Kendama. So Um, yeah, I think, when we go to events and we see these top players, whether it's the Gallaghers or if we watch Edwin at NACO last year online, or if we watch Takia, KWC final, Ryoga KWC final, there's something so inspiring about watching them. And I think what's really inspiring and like, it's just striking and awesome to watch is because we understand their self improvement and we can kind of see it, from our eyes, what they had to do to get there. And we kind of like turn that back onto ourselves of like, he's a human, he or she's a human, I'm a human. I can kind of do that too. Maybe it's not like the full Takia KDBC 2023 run, but if I improve, whether it's my speed or my juggle spikes or whatever part of it is, you can kind of see yourself in these players and the skills that they have. Whether it's like, yeah, getting as quick as Takia is in some tricks, or if it's doing a part of a trick like a four tap or a two tap that, Ryoga is so good at, or getting consistent at your beginner division for NACO as Nick Gallagher is for his open division and other competition. I think it's so inspiring to watch how good they are, and it's just really, really cool. I think like I think back on like I think it was Battle where yeah, Battle at the border. There was just like a group of people watching Edwin lace. He was lacing for Instagram, put his phone up, doing this crazy triple goon, and like the energy that you get coming home from one of those events is just like I want to be that good. At least for me, like it's just a big part of like in the most wholehearted sense of the word, like I want to just improve myself, like I'm ready to grind. And I think that's why it's important to talk about the why and yeah, so Kendama being a tool. Um yeah, I mean, Kendama's not just a bowling cup game, and I think it is for some people, and that's totally cool. But I think Kendama kind of represents itself as a way for us humans to improve our dexterity and our balance, to improve our like mental abilities, to grind through sessions, right, and to get better at tricks. Like we're hardwiring our the learning part of our brain into learning these really technical things. And I think it's just if you look at like all human race, I think it's just really cool that I guess the sports part of people getting better at their physical ability, but also kendama specifically with like these really niche like tapping abilities of moving your hand in a certain way, and you have that very certain movement, and you've only learned this from doing this over and over and over again. I think it's just really fascinating. Um, you want something? Okay. All right. Sorry, I have a kid in here. 1 second. Let's see what happens. We can enjoy Yasu. Everyone knows this moment. Really cool picture. Um, so what's the best way to improve at kendama? I think a lot of you would have some things come to mind. Um, and we can go through a few of these. Watching Isaac's tutorials, very nice. Analyzing trick consistency. All of these are things that I do, right? Like if you saw my last interview with the Gallaghers talking about my NACO practice and analyzing how much I get out of 10 and stuff. Going to events, it's a big thing. Writing down dream tricks, creating a schedule, and hanging out with Dama friends. Um, if I were to put all these on a scale of how important they are to specifically improving kendama, I would put these between a 0 and a 1 out of 10. These are almost insignificant compared to the one thing that you should do to improve kendama. And this is, I'm expressing it this way because it's really important for everyone to comprehend this part before we move on to anything else in this presentation. that the one thing you can do that is the most important, if we would put this at 9 out of 10 for improving kendama, and that is playing kendama. Um, this might seem obvious for some people, but I think it's super important to lay this groundwork that I can analyze on my Excel sheets how good I am all day, and I can, perfect my sesh spot with good lights and a good mat and a lot of room, and I can have an amazing note with all my dream tricks, and I can watch all the tutorials, learn from the best, be a part of Discord, Facebook, Gallagher community, and talk. Um, and of course, I'm talking specifically about improving kendama, right? Like I do a lot of these things for my own personal entertainment, but for improving kendama, there's nothing better you can do than playing kendama. Okay, this is a 9 out of 10 for improving kendama. Everything else is what I'll consider supplemental. So let's go through what supplemental means, which is um, on its own, it's meaningless. Okay, so a supplement, you need to be doing the main thing for this thing to count for anything. Okay, so let's go through a few of these players. We got Nick and Zach in the middle, uh, Alex, Edwin, Taki, and Ryoga. So what do these players have in common? Do they watch tutorials? I'm sure some of them have maybe seen a tutorial or two. Maybe the Gallagher's or Edwin watches a lot. I can't really imagine Takio watching a tutorial ever. He just seems like he downloads all the tricks. Um, Go to an event. I think most of these players have gone to events. Creating like a schedule of when they can play. Ryoga definitely doesn't do that because he's been playing for 9 years because he is 13 and he started when he was 4 or 5. So maybe like 8 years. But I think he just plays after he gets home from school. Or is it write down dream tricks? Maybe a few of these players have. But the one thing they have in common, and the one thing that not only these 6 players, but all the top players, I feel like you could almost roughly rank these players by how good they are and how much work they put into Kendama. Okay, so these players played an F ton of Kendama. That's the one thing they have in common. Again, might seem a little bit obvious, but it's really important to get that down into your head if you want to be one of the greats, if you want to improve, if you want to be a good kendama player. The best thing you can do is just play more kendama. Okay, it's the long way through. There's no shortcuts. It's just having a kendama in your hand, whether you're casually seshing, doing some tricks while you walk around the house, or if it's these hard sessions. Every minute that you add in the day of you playing kendama is you improving, and every minute that you add, for the most part, if you're not playing kendama, is you not improving. So do these other things matter? The things that I mentioned before, the supplemental things. It depends. It does not matter if you don't play kendama. Okay. Again, I can watch as many tutorials as I want. I could be an expert on slow motion, having a slow mo video of Zaki or Takia tapping and study that all I want. It, if I want to improve myself, it doesn't matter. It only matters if I am putting in the work and playing kendama. And again, this is supplemental, right? So as I said before, on its own, it doesn't do anything for improving kendama. You need to play kendama for them to use those supplemental things for it to work. Now that we've established that, I think whether that was obvious to you or not, or if it kind of hit home some things of like maybe a confirmation, right? Like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I'm excited to go and play, right? And I'm excited to put in those hours. I think we can talk about a few of those things, but just remember that the most important thing you can do is play more kendama. So let's talk supplements. Let's talk a few of these things. Again, I would say it's 1 out of 10. So if you do a few of these things, it can, I think some of these things are important. And what I say here is that uh, I value these supplements on how important they are. And you can probably guess how important they are, how significant they are, is what will increase your playing time. Because again, my thesis is that the more you play, the more you will improve. That's the one way forward to improving. So we can talk about a few of these things, right? So, love, passion, and fun, the emotion. I think that is super important when it comes to playing more kendama. Okay. Um, and it's one of those things where it's like, again, you can have love and passion for kendama, but it's not just that isn't going to improve. It's just going to make you play more kendama, which will improve yourself at the game, if that makes sense. Like these again are supplements. I'm going to be going through all of them, but these will help you play more. Okay, because I think I say in here that just grit, which is kind of like I don't have a Googler on me, but like grit is like the hard work and just kind of pushing and sweating through, and it's not fun, but you just push through that hour. That's not going to last. That's going to last a little bit. I think it lasts. I think it's important to have some grit, but you need to be fulfilled and you need to have passion and love kendama if you want to put in more and more and more hours. Um, friends and events. Yeah, I think friends and events are going to get you more in the kendama sphere. I know going to an event, for example, like I play a lot of kendama those following weeks after an event. And so, again, just to for the last time clarify that these things on its own aren't going to help you progress, but these things will help you play more. Going to events and having kendama friends in the game. And love, passion, and fun is something that I think it's important to say that can be controlled. I don't think passion is something that kind of like randomly goes in and out that you have no control over it. Um, I think if you actively choose to, I think if you don't have a lot of passion or if you're in a slump, you can't really forcefully like kendama again just by forcing yourself to play it, right? Maybe it'll last for a little bit, but again, I don't think grit will do it all the way. But what I think you can do is instead of looking for passion through kendamas, you can look through passion in other ways that gets you to kendama. So you can look for like maybe an interview that you're watching will get you there that you're watching for entertainment because again, it's not going to help you improve unless you're playing. Um, or talking to an old Dama friend or watching an old edit and seeing how they do these tricks that can reignite some kind of passion for you. And maybe just knowing yourself really well will help you figure out like where I need to go to be passionate again for kendama and for lacing tricks. Or a lot of it's wrapped up in Instagram too, right? Of trying to do tricks for other people, or just do tricks for this better version of yourself, which I think most of the time, I think a lot of people in Kendama will be happy for you no matter what you post. But I think what stops people is themselves thinking like, I should be better than this, right? And then our mind goes to like those few negative people that you just imagined that would say like, oh no, this is you're better than this, whatever. I think everyone's been through that. Um, and I think I put a self-help caution here because I've seen a lot of YouTube videos a few years ago about um, how self-help there could be an addictive part of that where like some self-help is good, but you can just get addicted to like thinking that you're getting better without actually doing the work. And that's like a really core point that I'm trying to make that it doesn't matter how many if you want to improve again, like I've watched these presentations and I'm part of the Gallagher School community because I own a business and it's entertaining for me, and I spend time on that because it's really cool. But if I'm looking down the tunnel of trying to improve kendama, I know that that's not necessarily helping me, and I think I've kind of tricked myself to thinking that I can watch these tutorials instead of actually sessioning and it'll help me. But yeah, that's the point I'm making. It's not the case. Um, so yeah, I think the self-help caution that like you can trick yourself into thinking that you're putting in real work and you're progressing and you're like slowly getting to really improve yourself by um watching this presentation, for example, which hopefully will motivate people to play more instead of uh tricking yourself watching tutorials to think you're getting better. If that makes sense. But I think in real life too, there's a lot of like, oh, do this to get your life under control. And then you read like a book and it makes you feel good, but you don't actually practice those things. And you read another book, makes you feel good, gives you a bunch of dopamine, but you don't put those into practice and there's no point. Then it's just kind of like it's a waste, right? So let's talk about flow state. Um, yeah, I think this is an important supplement. I think it's important just to understand this and then kind of move forward to your regular session with this knowledge. Um, I read I'm halfway through this book, the guy that invented flow state or the term, right? Um, and he talks about how you want to find this perfect medium between, um, how do I say it? Being bored and or being anxious. I think both ends are bad. Okay, so you don't want to. You're going to get bored if you go out and sesh and you're just doing the tricks that you already know, or you're taking yourself down to a level. Right, it's not going to be fun. You're going to lose passion. And also, if you're trying too hard, you're pushing yourself too hard, which I think is way more common than the boring end. Um, if you're pushing yourself too hard by watching too much Instagram, and like, this is all relating back to me, but like planning my KDUC run, right? Like putting my work into my KDUC run and like, oh, this is how I get to 1,000 points. And then I go out and play and I'm not even close to that. And then it's really discouraging and my playing time goes down, right? And that's the worst thing that could happen. Versus finding that perfect balance, which is like taking where you are and then moving it another step, just enough where I think that's where these top players they've played the most. But I think the reason that they've played the most is because they were able to, put that notch above just a little bit, which again, just by doing that isn't going to make them better, but it's going to make them play more. Okay. And if you can kind of like get these things in line, I think it's really good because that's going to help you play more. Again, the final goal, if you want to improve, is playing as much Kendama as possible. I said it one more time, even though I said I wouldn't. So let's talk brain plasticity. I am not a scientist. I've had a brief stint at a job in pharma, which was about the kidney. It wasn't about brain. But I did listen to a podcast on Huberman about dopamine, which I recommend you guys listen to because it's really relevant to Kendama. Um, really, really cool. It's about how we learn things. And I think he uh, talks about it in terms of like healing yourself from PTSD, which is cool, but not really relevant to Kendama. But then there's a brief segment in the podcast, and I can probably link this at some point, or I can put it on school because there's a specific video that talks about it that's really relevant to Kendama. But it's about how we learn things, brain plasticity, which brain plasticity is like our ability to learn, I believe. Um, so like if your brain is really plastic at this time, then you're going to take in a lot of information, right? And if your brain's not very plastic, then you're not going to take in a lot of information. And kids have very plastic brains, but I don't think it's because they're young. It's just because they have to be plastic because they're taking in so much information. They need to understand what we're saying for them to get what they want. So their brains have to be very plastic. And I think what was really cool about that podcast from Huberman was that he said actually frustration or the hormone cortisol, which is like a stress hormone, it increases your brain plasticity. So I'm going to give you an example, like a one-to-one example of this, which obviously I don't have scientific proof that this is what helped me learn four taps, but the next slide I'll get into that. But basically, like, yeah, with cortisol, your brain will be more plastic, so you'll be able to learn things better. Um, Huberman talks about sleep, which is really cool. About like I think a lot of maybe Kendama players have seen this thing where they will practice a trick, they won't get it, they'll sleep, and then the next day they'll try it again and they'll get it really quickly. I think everyone's probably experienced that at some point. I always see stories of people talking about that over the last 8 years, and I definitely agree with that. Um, but yeah, podcast is really cool. But I'm gonna give you an example right here of my experience with how frustration has really progressed me. Okay, has progressed my ability. Can you guys still? I can't hear you anyone, but I think you guys should be able to
Yeah.
still see the screen. Okay, so here's a trick. Four tap, late four. I don't know if you can hear me. So embarrassing, but it's important that I put that out there. Um, so I wrote this caption right after I posted it. I was so frustrated for this trick. As you can see in this caption, grinded for almost 2 hours. The string kept getting knotted. I remember that. Um, and I think that the built-up frustration behind this was that my four taps and my two taps weren't. I put so much freaking time into two taps and four taps, and they just were not smooth. I've talked to a few people that had this problem. I think it's on the rarer side. I think most people have they're easy. They have uh, easier path for twos and fours and a harder path for ones and threes because ones and threes seem awkward. But for me, it was ones and threes that were easier. But yeah, for twos and fours, I uh, I just couldn't get the time of release, and it was literally like years of me just trying to get this release right. And I could do a two tap, but it just wasn't what I wanted it, right? It wasn't this nice toss that people do. It was, you can probably see it here a little bit. Four tap, and then, yeah, see that toss really quick at the end. I don't wait and bring it to the left side. Um, this was so frustrating. I didn't want to go to bed. I had to go to bed because I was super tired and I had to get up for work in the morning. I played for 2 hours trying to get this. I wouldn't go to bed until I got it. By the way, Huberman says that that's really important for brain plasticity too, is going for something until you get it and saying like, okay, once I get this, I can move on. But whatever. Um, but I swear to God, I got up the next morning. Maybe it wasn't the very next day, but I was after this sesh right here. I broke the string, extremely frustrated, was sweaty, had a shower before I went to bed. It was terrible. My four taps and my two taps were improved after this sesh. I think that it wasn't obviously just this sesh, right? It was a year before of me slowly working on it, maybe getting better at the taps, but not, getting better at that toss after the taps. But then it was this sesh where I had a bunch of cortisol. I was super frustrated. And I think it was a few months later where I was hitting, two tap, juggle two tap. I never would have been able to do that with the way I tossed after two taps. Um, so again, not scientifically proven, obviously, but I think that this, if I had to like pin, what I heard from here about cortisol and stress and how that leads to growth and learning something, this is what I think of. Let's continue with some other supplements. And it's funny. This is an example of I can listen to all these Huberman podcasts and I can know all this stuff and I can like research how other people do these two taps. But at the end of the day, I need to put in the work and I need to do it myself, right? There's I can watch Virgo do this a million times with how easy it is to toss to the left, but um, I won't be able to learn myself and get better myself until I do it myself and have that cortisol in my own brain, move through it and get better. And then I think a year later I hit 4,444. Obviously a lot of work put into that, but I think this was the pivotal moment for me. So the cess spot is the last supplemental part. So I can go back and maybe other players, Zach can think about this too. But if you go back and you look at like the times, if you've been playing for a little bit, right? If you go back and look at the times that you've played the most kendama, at least for me, New York City is a good example. I was living in New York City for 8 months. I just gotten married. I had a day job, which was like 6 hours a day. It was a nice chill job. I was running Lotus, but not doing a lot for it. Like I am, like right now, I'm doing 10 hours of Lotus a day. And I had a lot of free time at night. So at night I was like had some time. Cecilia, my wife, is like watching Netflix or she's doing something, maybe cooking dinner, and I have like an hour or two to play every night. Um, Also, on top of New York City, I had my own room. It was a two-bedroom apartment. One room was just for Lotus products, and I bought a big mat and a big light that was really ugly, but it was really bright. So I had my own room and a lot of room to sesh. Also, right outside my porch, uh, there was these gigantic lights that like maybe for a safety reason or something, but like the lights were super bright. So there's a lot of clips of me playing right outside my apartment, and it's I live on the first floor, so it was just right outside. I can go sesh, and it's one of those things I don't think was super conscious when I was like, oh, I want to play more kendama. Like it's just like this thing, I play kendama, whatever. I want to play more, like I usually do. Moving to New York City, like, oh yeah, let's get a sesh room. Like that's really cool. I can play inside, and like, oh, look at that, I have a light outside. But retroactively, if I look back, that that situation led me to play a lot of kendama because I had time in the evening. I had two places to play when it was nice outside or even like 50 degrees. I get bundled up and go outside and play. And then when it was cold outside, I had my own room to play in. Um, I think setting yourself up for those things, right? So all these four supplements, these are the most important to me, in my opinion, if I were to give advice, because these are setting yourself up to play more kendama, which will in turn help you improve and progress quicker, right? Um, there's a bunch of more supplements and a bunch of more things that I can talk about, but I'm gonna leave it at these four just so I don't go too long. I think these are really important. Um, yeah, talk about New York City. So this is the last slide. But I do not want anyone to leave here getting discouraged because they are like, oh, I don't play enough. I'm not going to hit my goals because I don't play enough. Um, and I think that, I don't want you guys to leave playing or leave thinking that if I don't play however many hours a day, it's not worth it because it, at the end of the day, every additional minute that you play is worth it. It's like exponential growth. So like 5 minutes of playing every day is exponentially better than not playing at all. Okay. 5 minutes a day is going to lead to some growth, or at least it's just way better than not playing at all, right? When I was in New York City and last year I played on average 2 hours a day. But this year I'm busy. I have a kid. Um, I don't have a place inside to play. I live on the third floor. So it's a little bit harder to go outside for a break, during the workday. I just tend to work or do something else instead of going to play Kendama. So I'm playing probably an hour a day, maybe less. Maybe at the end of the year, I'm counted up probably 45 minutes. Um, that's all I can do. And that is for me, it's fine because I know that I am improving myself 1 hour a day's worth, if that makes sense. Like whatever you can put in, that's the work that you can put in. But I know there's maybe people in here, maybe people will listen to this that are new to Kendama, newer, under a year, under 2 years. They have some time. They want to grind. They want to know all these, the hacks. So like, what's the best way to get better? And I think this is that presentation of like play Kendama and then maybe look at these things too. I think if I were to generalize, like just based on what I know, if I were to like put in the amount of time that you spend into categories, I think 1 hour, you're probably improving a little bit. I think if you play an hour every day, you're improving a good amount. If you play less than that, you're probably maintaining your skills. Because I'm just basing this basically off of last year, which I improved a lot. I progressed taps and I progressed a lot of things a lot, and that was 2 hours a day. And this year is 1 hour a day. And I can feel myself like when I play for that hour, I do what I already normally do. I don't have room to like really grind out a new trick because by the time I'm like warmed up and I'm like I've practiced, whether I do just practice like a new trick for an hour, that I also haven't practiced, the stuff that I'm good at, like a trip J or like four tap joke spike. That's the kind of stuff I like to do every day to keep me consistent with it. So I think an hour a day is gonna, if you again, any time is better than no time, but an hour a day is gonna get you a little bit of improvement. It's definitely gonna keep you where you are. 2 hours a day, you're gonna see significant improvement. And if you want to uh, rapidly progress, you're going to be playing more than 2 hours a day. So I heard Takia sometime play 6 hours a day. I don't know if I believe that, but um, I think he plays a ton, right? I think there's times when on a day where he just is playing like the full day, but it's not just about that day, right? It's about the years and years and years and years and years built up. Um, yeah, I'm trying to wrap this up. Um, yeah, I think it is a question that we all ask ourselves at some point is like, am I doing the right thing to get better? Like some of these people, some of my peers are getting way better, way quicker. And like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And I think the answer to that is just to play. Um, but in order to keep yourself playing, there are some things you can do, like being a part of these communities, watching tutorials. That gets you a little bit motivated when you watch a new tutorial. I mean, it helps you learn a trick, right? Like a straight pinch from Zaki, for example. I don't also want to like diss everything besides playing, but if you want to improve, you want to play. But like everything else is not only entertainment, it's just normal life, right? You need to eat, you need to be entertained in some way to just keep yourself happy. Be part of a community is so fulfilling. One of the most fulfilling things I've had in my life is the economic community, and being a part of that means just like catching up with the guys, reading up on Discord or school or watching the latest like Sweets video. Like that stuff is entertainment, and it's really cool for me to be able to do that. But yeah, I think that I think I got what I wanted to get out, which was the main thesis of like the people asking that question of like, what can I do? Like how when they see that Takia going for the final run and they're just in awe and inspired and motivated. Um, I think if you look at all those top players, it's just the amount of hours that they put in. So I will wrap it up there, and I'll take any questions that you guys have.
That was absolutely epic. Thank you, Isaac.
Oh, thanks, Zach.
That was awesome. I'm gonna quickly have you stop sharing your screen and see if I can just turn it off on my end. Let's
Yeah,
go. All right, there we go. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I really want to. Okay, yeah, guys. So we're gonna use the raise your hand feature to raise your hand for questions, and I'll call an order. If not, if you can't find the raise your hand function, just message me here in the Zoom chat, and I'll just pull you an order. But I just want to say, I want to highlight one more point that Isaac made at the very end there. He said, if you're watching this presentation, please don't get discouraged if you think you're okay, wow, I'm not playing enough. Like I need to play more
yeah,
and I can't because I think it's so easy to well, I mean, like for example, let's look at Ryogan. You said it yourself. I mean, he's not playing his schedule. Dude's coming home playing for 6 hours after school. It's just automatic. And and he's a kid. He's less responsibilities and mandatory things for him to do than maybe your situation right now if you're listening. But that is, and it's so easy to dismiss that as like, oh, well, yeah, he has the time. I don't. It's whatever. I'm just not even going to try. Like, it's just whatever. It's, but you can. Like, just what Isaac said, like, Isaac's still putting consistent time, 45 minutes to an hour every single day. And that compounds over time. You can still make actually significant progression in that sense. And I've seen a lot of players be like, yeah, whatever. It's just I just have other stuff to do. But if you actually really try and prioritize time for it, it's very likely you'll be able to magically find time all of a sudden. If you actually prioritize it in your day and just prove to yourself that you can actually do it if you set your mind to it. So I want to highlight that point because we're all in a different place in our lives and in different
yeah,
responsibilities and all that. But if we want to get better, we'll figure out a way and we'll prioritize Kendama and that's only 30 minutes for the day. It's totally fine. And if it's just as I said, just do it as much as you can and you will see progress if you actually put in time. So I want to highlight that point because I mean it's very, very true. All right. We're going to move on to questions. Let's go, Lily. I'm gonna go here and boom.
Hi. I was very interested with what you had to say about neuroplasticity,
mm,
specifically since it decreases considerably with age past 25.
mm,
Um, and I didn't start playing till I was 30. So
mm,
I have actually used it to help build a certain level back.
Yeah.
And I also suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And
Mm,
I've utilized it with emotional regulation.
mm,
Um, and that link between cortisol and physical action, like you were discussing, does help rebuild neural processes.
yeah.
Um, and when doing that while overwhelmed and in a flare up, it seems to help
Yeah.
me literally rewire my brain.
Yeah.
I've used it for 2 years to do that. And I'm not in by any means trying to be like, I've just started competing over the past year, mostly because my family does, not because I've ever really been a competitor. It's not
Yeah.
important to me, really. Um,
Yeah.
but I was encouraged to start competing
Yeah.
um, just so that I have something to track by, like my
Yeah.
progression and level and skill set and stuff like that. Um, I'm interested. You've said that specifically now that you've got a 7-month old at home, you're
Mm,
noticing that you have less time.
yeah.
Um, I'm interested to hear about how much time you have once she starts walking.
Yeah. No,
I-
it's sorry, what was your name again?
My name's Lily.
Lily. Okay, nice to meet you. Yeah, it's really interesting. It sounds like you've researched some of that stuff too, which is really cool. Yeah, I think what are you familiar with Huberman? Is that where you got some info from?
No, actually, my mother is a stroke survivor, and I've been through multiple neurologists in the
Oh,
area. So,
wow. Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah. So Huberman has a bunch of cool podcasts that are free on YouTube about this kind of stuff. And I know specifically he's mentioned PTSD, neuroplasticity, working through that. Um, so yeah, really interesting. It sounds like you know what you're talking about, and it sounds like it's helping, which is really, really cool. Um, I don't know if the science is out about, I believe that the science is out about how kids have more of a plastic brain. I don't know if the science is out. I could be wrong. That if it's because they are young and or if it's just because again that's just what they're kind of forced to do. Like for example, maybe I'm wrong about this because I know language is really specific, but maybe it's just that part of the brain. But like if there's a feral child who hasn't learned a language, I think after 13, if they try to learn the language, they'll never be fully um, what do you call that? Like they'll have like issues with syntax in the language.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but it'd be really hard to do an experiment on this. But I guess what I'm trying to experiment is that like you take a 5-year-old like Ryoga, a 5 to 13 years old of him playing. At 5, you're not invested in the community. You don't have these, rival peers. You're not balancing time. Like for me, when I have some free time, it's like, okay, I can either do the house or I can spend more time with my baby or do this or do that. And so playing
Hmm.
Kendama, it's like hard, right?
Yeah.
But Ryoga, obviously, it's literally like, oh, I have to go to school. Okay, fine. Okay, yeah, here's food, and then like, okay, what do I do for like 6 hours a day? Um, and so then it's like, okay, yeah, Kendama, right? The experiment would have to be like if you took a 30-year-old with like that, it would be really hard because you'd have to almost limit like its social interaction, the person's social interaction to like, because as adults, we are way more discouraging to each other. We have way more negative talk about like, oh, I can't do this. Our bodies hurt more. That's for sure, right? Like my back will hurt more than like a 5-year-old. Um, so then you don't play as much. But I don't know if you played the same and you had the same like I guess to give you another example, like Ryogo might not have limiting beliefs about going straight to a four tap. When adults, you have a friend who's really good and you're like, yeah, I just won't be able to do the four tap. Like I just can't do it. Right.
Exactly.
Because in the past you failed at something and that's a limiting belief just because you're an adult. I think we've all had that. Maybe we're working through that. And one thing I wanted to put in my presentation is that like getting yourself past those limiting beliefs, believing you can do something, and just going for it, just sending it, is really important. Um, But yeah, no, I mean, whenever I get back from an event, I have this emotional urge of like, okay, I'm creating time. I'm creating 3 hours a day for me to like, because I want to be the best, And it's definitely really emotional, not logical, but it's still like a fun feeling to have. It's a very motivating feeling. Um, and I think right now I'm at an hour a day, but I still have like a long life to live. I don't think I'm ever parting with Kendama, and I will have more time in the future. Um, especially even just day to day, like, okay, today I can squeeze in Kendama more, or like this weekend, this Saturday, Cecilia has a kid going to a friend's house. So yeah, I can either like catch up on some work or just put the work to Monday and like play for 6 hours. I think we all have these choices. And of course I can set up my my day to day where like I in the morning I can wake up earlier, do the things I need to do so I have more time in the afternoon, right? But yeah. Um I understand that my time is going to be more and more limited as I go on. But again, if I can squeeze in 30 minutes in the future, if I can squeeze in 15 minutes in the future, that's the most I can do. I'd be happy about that because as long as I'm squeezing it in, if I give up, that's something that would be upsetting to me. But if I can squeeze it in, I know that 15 minutes is better than not playing at all, right? Or that 30 minutes is not better than not playing at all. Or for some people, it's like, oh man, I only played 2 hours today. Like I need to be playing three or four. That's fine too. But I think if you have that goal of improving yourself and progressing, uh, like I don't want anyone to really take to heart like, oh, I'm not improving because I'm not playing an hour a day. Again, like the 45 minutes, the 30 minutes, the 50 minutes, whatever it is still exponentially better than not playing at all.
Agreed. I have noticed that once I did start competing and tracking, it did seem to take more of a priority in my thought process as far as
Yeah,
planning my day. Um, because I was noticing those incremental improvements and I wanted to keep doing that. Um, the other thing I wanted to express is that idea of supplemental kendama.
yeah,
Um, that's very interesting to me, carrying on with that metaphor, because when you take a vitamin or a supplement, most of it is
yeah.
going to come out because your body's not ready to absorb it. And I
Mm.
feel like at a certain level, spending so much time with these supplements is actually going to be more harmful to your kendama play because it's taking your time away
Yeah, yeah,
from
no.
the
Yeah,
actual play.
no, for sure. Yeah, that's
So
where
I
I kind of
really
wanted
like
to.
that analogy.
Yeah, it's they're supplements, right? Yeah, proceed with caution. You don't do it too much, but if you fully understand that the best thing you can do is play kendama to improve yourself, then you can consider these things. Okay. Next question.
Yeah. Sweet. Also, just Lily just started competing. Just shout out. She won the pre-NACO beginner division. It's going
Oh,
well.
it's sick. Nice job. Oh yeah.
Javi.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac.
Hey,
Great presentation, man. Love the
thanks.
insight. I really love the it's funny when you said like play Kendama, you showed literally five of the best performers in the game, you
Yep.
know? Like, and when it's presented that way, it kind of like it's different because we all like to play Kendama, but when you present it with facts, like literally five of the top, and that's
Yeah.
what they've always done for years.
Yep. Yep.
It just hits when it's said that way. So do you want to
Yeah.
mention that like because obviously I like to play a lot of kendama, and you said
Yeah.
like you said obviously for a lot of you it's obvious, and it was obvious for me, but like
Yeah.
you said to let it marinate, and it did, and so yeah, just
Yeah.
wanted to share that.
No, I appreciate it,
Um,
man. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I think there's no secret, there's no way around it. There's no secret medicine. There's no, Madi spray that's gonna make you better at stalls. It's just Madi doing stalls a ton. Like, yeah, sure, the water is gonna be a supplement that's gonna help a little bit, but like at the end of the day, it's because of how much time you put into those tricks,
yeah,
right? So,
it's all
and
in the
the proof
passion,
is
really.
how good he is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, man, absolutely. No, I and yeah, so that I definitely resonated with me, but I wanted to ask you, you talked about having a schedule is something that I'm assuming you were talking day to day, right? Like throughout the day, a
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I think that just depends on, I mean, personally, I think that just depends on person, like if it helps you or if it doesn't. But
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, do you have some kind of overarching schedule? So for your
Mm.
kendama journey, when you see like what steps can I take throughout the year to get better? Do you have like that? Or any thoughts?
No, yeah, that's a really good point. I when I probably the first 4 or 5 years when I was playing the most kendama, I didn't have any kind of day-to-day schedule or an overarching schedule. I kind of just briefly wrote down some tricks that I wanted to get down at night when I was like wanting to play kendama. I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, this would be fun to do in the future. But now that my time is much more caught up with Lotus and with uh, my baby, um, that's when I think it helps me. I want to be kind of cautious about this, but I think it helps me to be like, okay, where's the hour? Where's my hour? Where can I get in that hour? And that's what I think most of the time I'm doing. But if you are one of those guys that has more free time, you don't want to just shoot for the hour, because then what happens is you don't play kendama all day. You don't pick it up. You don't touch it until, I think there's something about like, I feel like with Edwin, like just that free falling. Of course, Edwin's an exception because he is able to play Kendama that much. But even people who have like a full-time job or part-time job where they just are finding themselves playing Kendama all the time anyway, day-to-day schedule, I mean, if you're good to go, right? Like you have that goal of playing as much as possible, right? Um, long term, yeah, I mean, I think the Gallaghers have talked to me about this. I've had good success about this, which is just really, really easy goals and not going too hard on yourself. It's super easy to get, that flow state of like, which this isn't really a good instance of flow state, but if you push yourself too hard, it's like the long term brain is so unique, and I think I found this with kendama. Like, with the short term that we live more in like the moment. I think all humans like moments, minutes, hours. To comprehend 3 months, it's really easy for me right now to comprehend the next 3 months. Like, oh yeah, I can easily just play an hour a day because my schedule like this, blah blah blah. 2 months in, your brain is in a completely different state. It's just a different feeling of like I'm doing Sober October this month, and like, man, oh, November 30th or September 30th, so excited. Like, let's go. It's so easy. Yeah, this is healthy for me. And then October 17th, I'm in a completely different state. And I commit to it because I told myself I would, which I'm happy about. But like, you're going out to the skate park with some friends and then they offer you a beer. And like, you're just not in that same place. And it happens over and over and over and over again when you're trying to make these long term goals and you feel different about it later. So it's not really, I don't know if I really answered it, but that's just some thoughts I had towards that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you did. I
Yeah.
think, I mean, definitely take, playing in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that's what you did. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think that w when we look at the bigger picture, I mean, I found it for me personally beneficial, but I
Yeah.
also know that if you're not in the right mindset and you maintain that right mindset in the moment, you might be more easy to persuade and fall into these bad
Yeah.
habits and get,
Yeah.
distracted and stop playing. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Another thought about that is that I think that if you're not happy about how much you're playing and you have more free time and you're not using it, that's when you kind of have to look at these supplemental things of like, passion or scheduling or long-term goals. But if you are playing a lot and you're playing every chance you get and you're passionate and you're having fun, then you don't want to mess with it. You don't want to fix anything that's not broken, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah. All right. We can go to the next.
yeah. Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Javi. All right, Vid.
Hey, hey, thanks for the presentation again from my side. Can you hear me fine?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I have a question from more like a beginner mindset.
Yep.
So I started like half a year ago, and when I'm playing a lot, but to me it seems important to like watch a tutorial or something at some point because I don't know how to do something. Let's say if I'm learning
Yeah.
juggling.
Yeah.
So to me, it's way more beneficial to watch a tutorial to see what the form is on how to do stuff. Let's say to throw the tama, to separate the stuff. If I figure that out, also if I figure that out wrong, let's say that I'm throwing it on the back side, on the right side,
Yep.
it's then really hard that later to fix that problem than it would be
Yep.
if I just watch the tutorial. So what's your take on like from a more of like beginner or intermediate standpoint on playing versus watching tutorials and stuff like that?
No, it's a really, really good point. So thanks for the insight, Vid. Thanks for the question. And I think it's going to be hard to express myself. Um, but I mean, I just will start with like I totally agree with you that like as a beginner, you want to. I mean, I make tutorials myself for them to be watched, right? With like time control and how to juggle. And yeah, I'll do my best to try to express myself. But I think if you think it's really useful and you're watching this video and you're going back to practice, then I think you're good. You're set, you know? Um, but there's just something that the mind can do where you are trying a little bit to replace it. You're trying to replace the work that you need to do with these tutorials and with this dopamine rush of watching videos and doing these types of things. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll just, yeah, like straight up tutorials are really useful. Um, they are going to help you progress. I make them for a reason. They're meant to be watched, um, for sure. But when it comes to being the top player, like, you know, again, tutorials have a place, but if you want to progress, and especially progress quickly, the best thing you can do is play a lot. So yeah, they're not like you have to pick one or the other, right? But like as long as you're playing a lot and you're working on it and you're putting in that work, um, then it's okay to watch tutorials, you know? So hopefully that again, I'm trying to it's hard to express that. I understand what you're saying, but that's kind of the best job I can do.
Yeah, I guess it's not to compensate the playing with the tutorials. Like if I watch
Yeah.
it one time, then I know what the deal is, and then just play
Yeah,
from there.
no.
Probably.
Yeah. And it's not like a secret. You can feel it yourself. Like you can be like, oh no, like if you need to watch it again and get down a point and you really feel yourself like, oh, I'm excited to try this. I'm excited to try. I just need to watch this one more time. Like that's true. That's fine. Like I think you can feel it yourself. But when you yeah, I just the greater point is that when you are inspired that someone is this good, I think the greater point that I'm trying to make is just that it's because of how much time that they put in, which is kind of a separate thing. But yeah.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go, Nick Jacinto.
Hi, Isaac. That was an amazing
Hi.
presentation. My
Thank you.
question is, although putting in the time is important, how do you structure the practice?
Yeah.
One second. How do you structure the practice within the time to get the most
Yes.
value out of yourself?
Yeah. It's a really good question. I'm going to preface this answer with first of all, again, you don't want to spend too much time thinking the most it's like it's so much more important to just practice. Now, I'm not like denying your question at all because I think it's a really good question, but it's just really important to know that the best thing you can do is practice and spend that time, and it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, there's a small amount that matters how you structure it. The biggest amount that matters is that the fact that you're practicing, right? Like I'm going to give an example of like weightlifting where like I've had a brief stint of weightlifting, and it's so easy to get distracted by YouTube videos and almost discouraging yourself. Like, man, I'm should I be doing this weight? Should I be doing this amount of reps? Should I be doing, this heavy or this light? Or this guy over here is doing that. Like, and you're discouraging yourself, and then all of a sudden you lose the passion and you stop working out. When the one thing you can do to improve yourself is work out. And at the end of the day, if like you stop, and again, like to go on this analogy, if you stop working out because you got discouraged, you end up at the worst possible place, which is not working out, versus you're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter, I'm just going to keep going, I'm just going to go with what I think, I don't know how it works, and you go for another 6 months and you've just progressed exponentially versus quitting because you uh you got distracted by like if you're doing this right. But okay, to answer your question, if you understand that, then I think that I don't I not to like rant for a long time and not answer your question and give you like a short answer, but um I've gone through having practice sessions where I am going through this set of tricks that I need to hit to keep me consistent. I'm going to go through one tap, then a two tap, then a three tap. I'm going to go through around stall, then around stall with a flip. Oh, then I need to practice my string flow. Let's go through a string flow sesh. And it could be good if you're having fun and you feel like it's helping. But the minute that you are thinking like, I don't really want to sesh because that means I have to do this, that's when it's bad, right? Like maybe a little bit of grit and a little bit of like focus can be like, okay, then let me just do this. Like that could be good. But if at all a certain strategy of seshing or a certain tactic of seshing is preventing you from seshing or is not making seshing fun, that's when you scrap it. Because at the end of the day, you want to look back on your year and hit. If you have the ability to play 2 hours a day, you want to have played for 2 hours a day. That's hard to do. To use your free time to play a lot, it's hard to do. Whether it is half an hour or 3 hours or 4 hours, you just want to make sure you're setting yourself up to play the most you possibly can. That's the most important thing. Um, but yeah, other than that, like if you have the motivation and you have the drive to do a few of these things, I don't have any specific techniques really. Short answer of your question. But
Yeah,
I played around
that
with a
makes
few things.
sense.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
that
you can
that
play
just
around.
brings me to just a smaller question is what have you found that helps you structure out your sessions?
Um, I'm really trying hard to like not answer your question for some reason, but I think it's just because I've gone through so many things. Yeah, there's nothing that really comes to mind. I mean, the other day, me and Marcus were like, "Oh yeah, when we do stalls and stilts, like the rest of my session is really good." And maybe that's partly true. I can offer you that like starting with stalls and stilts can help. Um,
Yeah, I believe that having like balance tricks and like starting off slow creates a good
yeah,
start off.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But like I remember thinking like I'm gonna start with the around damage wells every time I sesh, and then like
hmm
a weekend I don't feel like seshing, and it's like, duh, right?
Do you
Like,
think that when you don't feel like seshing is an important time to go and sesh to get better? So whether you feel like you
um,
want to play or not, playing
yeah,
is
it's a good
still the
question.
answer.
I think it's a weird mixture between like grit and yeah, getting yourself up and just going. You have the passion and maybe you just don't feel like it. They're like those like this temporary like I don't feel like doing anything. Like right now I
hmm
can either play a game of chess or I can go to work. And then it's kind of the obvious thing. But if there's like a deeper like man, I haven't sessioned in a while and like I don't have a lot of like passion, then maybe that's a more serious look of like what's going to get you passionate, whether it's watching an old edit or like maybe
Yeah.
choosing something. I don't know,
Okay.
whatever. So yeah, yeah, I think it depends.
Okay.
Sweet. Thank you.
Oh wait, you're muted, or I can't hear you. Yeah,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's up, Isaac? Yeah,
What's up, dude?
banger presentation, classic W. Too easy, guy.
Thanks, bro.
Um, yeah, so I got my question already written out, man. Everyone
Cool.
you kind of answered it in parts, but I was session today earlier, and I was kind of like, man, what? I'm like, this is gonna be a presentation. I got to think about something. So my question is, when you learn a trick or a concept, what is your balance between pushing that trick further and honing that specific trick or concept? For example, I'm working on airplane 1.5 toss back to airplane. And I've done stuff where like I do like a late Ken between or
Yeah,
such, or I'll do where, okay, I'll do it once and then I'll do a 1.5 joke swap spike or something. And I really like the trick, or even for example, border balance. I recently have figured out, more border balance and getting it more consistent where I can get it up and have like a solid 3 seconds and actually get out
Yeah.
of it. And I'm like, I really like these tricks. And I think about it how I see, I'm like, man, it's all awesome to post level ups and see level ups. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I actually make these tricks super consistent? So my question kind of is, yeah, like what is, in your opinion, what's the best balance between coming back to a trick? You kind of mentioned it,
Mm,
like some people like just going
mm,
mental sessions and be like, I'm gonna hit all this. Some people like honing,
mm.
focusing on that, but I'm trying to see because that's something I'm focusing on now. And I'm like, I want to get this better. I know I got to practice these Neko tricks and all this other stuff, but I'm like, I really want to work on this stuff because I have a desire to. Like, I
Yeah.
find it fun. It keeps it fun for me, even though it's difficult. And I think that's kind of something I like struggle to like I want to stick with this thing, but I see all these level ups and people going insane. I'm like, man, I know I could push this further, but I'm like, but I know I don't have this fully sturdy like I really
Yeah.
desire to.
Really good question. And I think I'm glad to know that I have like a pretty specific answer. And it depends, but I'm not going to say it's like, yeah, going for the hard line and you do this in the beginning, or if it's like, yeah, going for that 10 times in a row. I think it depends on what you want to look at is what's going to get you into that flow state and push you the most, right? So, like, we've all been in those sessions and those grinds where the trick is a little bit too hard. You're not really getting close. You're getting frustrated. That's like that stressful side of flow state. And then maybe not often with Kendama, but there's a side of like just getting bored. And like maybe right now, like I want to go practice Neko, and like just going through the tricks is boring. Like it's boring. But if I can imagine what I can shoot for in a sesh that would make it exciting and just like the perfect goal that is super achievable, but it's going to take a little bit of work. That's just like a step up. So for example, instead of going through Neko tricks one by one, which is boring, don't really feel like doing it, not very motivating, I can just imagine like, okay, well, why don't I just get my best stall dama and try to do all three stall tricks in a row. Like that's one thing that I've done in the past where I just kind of like it's definitely practicing for the event. It's really good practice for the event, but also it's just exciting. And the ideal situation is that you get lost in this grind. You're in flow state. You're just like it's not that you're having fun, but it's just that you're just like an hour goes by quick. Like that's the definition of flow state, right? Like I think, a more direct example for your question, if you want to get down the 1.5 toss, 1.5 back, or if it's 1.5 toss late Ken, 1.5 back. You're not going to do this every time, but I think you're going to try to find that an hour that will go by quick that's related to any part of the trick that you can get down. So whether it is just like maybe trying to get it 10 times in a row, if you find yourself like having a lot of fun with that and getting lost in that sesh, then that's really good because guess what? Back to my thesis, it keeps you playing longer. Um, that's the goal. But if you're going for the triple late Ken and it's just too hard, you're getting frustrated, then dial it back to the single late Ken. And even if you've done it before, like sometimes I'm going for like a four tap jug late four tap taking me a little bit longer, something I want to do every day. And I can get lost in that, even though I've done it before. Like you can get kind of lost and find that flow state in tricks that you've done before, tricks that you haven't done before, crazy bangers, right? Like I think that's the goal because at the end of the day, it's going to make you play longer. That's going to help improve. That's the most important thing. It's going to help you improve. Um, so hopefully that answered your question. But I would say like whatever you find most fun and keeps you playing longer. That's the answer.
Got you. Yeah. Thanks, man. That was a good one. Also,
Yeah.
by the comment, I saw that Marcus Lander video and you laced that dare like it was easy like a Sunday morning.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for the dare. Really good dare. It was really cool. I
I was
like
like,
the
and
the trip.
actually, I funnily I got that inspiration. I saw you doing your KWC run, and you had that one of your lines, the triple house flip, and I said, I'm gonna think of a line that has that insta triple house flip, and I bet in my head I was like, if I make a banger, he's gonna pick it, and I watched it in the video, and I was
Yeah.
like, yes, I knew it, I knew he was gonna pick that one.
Yeah, no,
But
it looks easy, but definitely took me a little bit. But that's a perfect trick. That I got lost in that trick. It was just above like the skill level of me to like grind it out. I know I could do it, but I ended up spending like 10 minutes on it. Marcus cut it to make it look a lot shorter. But yeah, no, that's a good example. Yeah, yeah. Thanks,
Yeah,
man. Thanks for the
thanks
dare.
again, man. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the response.
Yeah, thank you.
Epic. All right. Anybody else have any more questions? I see Amanda with her hand raised. Isaac, you good on time, by the way? Just want to.
Yeah, yeah. One more is fine. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. Amanda.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, awesome.
How's it
First of
going?
all, dude, it's going great. Awesome presentation. I really enjoyed this. The part that you touched upon, neuroplasticity, that was my favorite part. As someone who's into mindfulness and meditation, I actually use, mantras, positive affirmations while just doing like a
Mm,
little warm up. And I really do
mm,
feel like that helps so much just to like you change your mindset because
yeah,
we are the total sum of what we think, do, and
yeah,
say. And
yeah.
that's just like, I'm glad that we're talking about it and bringing this into the conversation. So, again, thank you for everything. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Amanda. And yeah, I totally agree. And it's really cool that that's working for you. I think once you find these things that are working for you, meaning that you have these enjoyable sessions that take a long time and you're sweating and you're grinding, and maybe you have a little grit, right? You have a little bit of energy to spend like, nah, I'm gonna get this. And it kind of sucks for a little bit. That's important. But like I bet if we look back at like, next year, whatever it was, 2018, when like he started just going off and improving, I bet that was a mixture of like being really fulfilled, going into his room and playing and having to get a ton of fun, and a tiny bit of like maybe a little bit more of just like determination and like, that's that willpower that comes in. But the energy and like the positive stuff needs to be there because if it's all grit, it's not going to last that long.
Awesome. Okay. We have Pat Dama
Yeah,
one. Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
What's up, Pat? Yeah,
Can you say your thoughts on the things I read in chat?
yeah. Down under. A really important thing is also not overcomplicating progress. As long as you enjoy Kendama enough, you'll be motivated to play regularly and therefore progress. Yeah, dude, exactly. Structured and time scheduling shouldn't matter, to be honest. Yep, I agree. Nothing should be forced. It's either a priority or it's not, in my humble opinion. No, man. I mean, you are a good example of this, of how much you progressed. Whatever you're doing is great because you're progressing really quickly, and I know you're playing a lot, and I think you're playing a lot because you're having a lot of fun and you found a lot of fulfillment. And yeah, sometimes it's hard work and you're putting your time in, but that hard work feels good. It's not that hard work that feels bad. Um, and again, like kind of like part of this presentation, you can overanalyze things, and at the end of the day, it's not going to be helping you progress if you're doing it too much. If you're overanalyzing instead of just analyzing, at the end of the day, you need to the amount of hours, whatever you can do that gets you playing more is best. So yeah.
Okay, sweet. Thank you, Pat. All right, guys. Well, I think that might be it. If anybody has another question, I'm sure Isaac would be more than happy to answer you guys in DMs.
Yeah,
About this is a great presentation, Isaac.
thanks.
Actually, real quick, Nick Gallagher. I don't know if you want to come in and.
Yeah, I'd love to hear, Nick, if you have any thoughts towards this, kind of like a unique perspective. But
Mm. Yeah, I was really, really impressed by the presentation. I think you just got to the just kind of like the main point of everything is just to play. Like, of course,
yeah,
supplements only as good, right? If you do the main thing, and that's
yeah, yeah,
playing. I mean, absolutely perfect there. And yeah, I agree. And it just made me think of how like it's so much more seamless than it for some people than it is for others. Some people,
yeah,
I mean, age too, right? I mean, some kids just don't think, they just do. Some
right,
adults over they think a lot more just because they've been around a lot more, a lot longer. And then so it made me think of opportunities in the future, like going deep on what actually makes somebody be stoked to progress or yeah,
yeah,
just hit these flow states and like what kind of environment can is given to have
Yeah.
players access these easier. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, we talked about events. You have Kendamanomics, and you're giving people a reason to have fun, to play. I think it's just, it got me really thinking about what more opportunities can we create for people in order for people to stop thinking as much and just do.
Yeah.
Because when I was in 2018, I mean, yeah, I wasn't thinking of anything. I was obviously I'm
No.
really blessed to be able to have the opportunities to go to all those competitions, but I won them because I mean I did of course I practiced, but every day I came home 2 to 3 hour sessions at least. I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking, I was just doing exactly what I saw on the internet, what was sounding fun and what was fun to me, which was usually trying to go live on Instagram, one up a trick I saw
Yeah.
Bryson Lee or Liad do, or just win the next competition and beat Bonds for like the millionth time. Like that was like all I cared about, you know? Like I just wanted to do that
Yeah.
so much. And it made me feel like so good and it just fueled my play. And it's
Yeah.
exactly it's different for every single person. So just more
Yeah.
options out there to have more of a direction and being like, oh, I can progress in this way, I can do these things instead of you're right, like setting like one standard for somebody's not going to work for another person. Like I'll do these three
Mm.
times in a row for like
Yeah.
it's not going to work for everybody. It's not going to
Yeah.
be fun. And you're right, like grit isn't going to get you the farthest. It can take
Yeah.
it's good to have, but
Yeah.
you need to be enjoying and having and actually having fun to really take it that far. And that's what I was doing. Yeah, that one year just had a lot and a lot of fun. And yeah, I just reaped the benefits. So yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. You covered a lot of good points, and I'm really, really happy about this. It's been good.
Yeah, for sure. I find that like as I'm older, I just know that like I have yeah, it's almost like it's a weird example, but you can kind of put like if you have like a pet lizard or something, like you can put them in like this cage that doesn't let it like reach its full potential. Like you can like not give it water, not give it food, not have rocks and trees and all this stuff that lizards need to like be happy and stuff. Like a bad environment, and it's gonna like die and not, do its normal thing. But if you have like a really good cage with like, yeah, water and you have a little fake waterfall and the right trees and the right moisture, and you have like, it starts laying eggs with like the wife lizard, it's just gonna do its thing. Like it's not thinking about it, but the environment is right. So like Nick, I think your environment was right during that time. And my environment was right during these different times. And Zach's and everyone's, at some point, if they got to be playing as much as they were playing, then that environment was right when it came to their drive, their passion, the space that they had. Um, the fulfillment, like those are the most important things. And then obviously, yeah, they maybe didn't really think about it, but they were just like, yeah, this is just a habit. This is just what I do. Um, and then that just reaps huge benefits of like, okay, then after like 6 months in a year, you still have that environment, you're still feeling good. Like progression is wild, like that's where after a year long of that is like you can really look back and see like, holy shit, I progressed a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to say I'm really happy that Nick said that about his practice back in those high school days of 2018 and his year of like just domination, and just saying how he wins every set, like not thinking and just and maybe a small intent from like an Instagram clip or a goal ahead, right? Like
Yeah.
for the most part, it's really just going out and just playing and enjoying. And I'm really happy you touched on that because that's huge, and that's something that I was thinking for myself when Nick just asked this question as well. So I'm happy you guys went over that, and I'm totally agreeing with you guys. So awesome. It looks like William has raised his hand. I don't know if you want to. We can, yeah, let's just do it. The last one.
Yeah, very quick, very quick. First of all, Thomas, that chat you just said was insane. Had me laughing. Um, Second of all, this is very quick. Are y'all selling those Lotus Element Kens at NACO, or do I gotta buy it online? I need to know. I need to know if I need to hit the
We
online.
have a limited amount, so make sure if you go to NACO that you get there quick. Um,
You're telling me
otherwise,
pull up on me first, is what you're saying.
what'd you say?
Pull up at the Lotus booth first, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
I
that's
think
all I
I
needed
think
to
they'll go
know.
go
That's all I
quick.
needed,
Yeah.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Yep. So pull up first and get there at like 8 a.m. Anyways, Isaac, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. You put a lot of work into that, and I know me and Nick and everybody else here watching on the Zoom call, but everybody else watching on YouTube later when you release this on Lotus is really appreciative of your input. This is really, really good insights. I got so hyped to know that this is just information now that is being put out to the public. Like this is so sick. So thank you so much. I know you impacted everybody positively here. So really appreciate your
Good to
time.
hear. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Good to see you, Grizzoli. We're gonna assess soon. But yeah. All right. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Bye.